The first bicycle to hit the streets was named the Swiftwalker and wheeled around in the early 1800s. There wasn't much to it, with a wooden frame, no cogs, gears, or pedals to speak of. Riders would use their feet to propel themselves like they were the Flintstones. And if you wanted to go fast downhill, then it usually ends in disaster, because the Swiftwalker didn't have any brakes either. It was as bare bones as it comes, but that was 200 years ago, and the world of bikes has come a long way. Mountain bikes, road bikes, beach cruisers, and commuters are just a few of the options presented to us, and it would seem that for every style of bike that falls by the wayside, another two pop up in its place. So saddle up and join me for today's video as we take a look at the top 15 most cool types of bicycles. Number 15. The Math Bike. Alright, kicking off this list is a bike that is as odd as it is functional. When it comes to hitting those bumps in the road and jumping down curbs in an urban environment, if you truly don't know what you're doing, then things can end in somewhat of a disaster. One wrong move and you can find yourself flying over the handlebars or even busting a tire. But luckily, the first bike on this list seems to have solved that problem by doing a little bike mathematics. This bike simply takes the rear wheel off, saws it in half, and elongates the frame, and then puts the two halves back on. It may look and sound a little unconventional, but the two rear half wheels are able to move in perfect sequence, and so while one is rolling across the ground, the other is facing up towards the sky and allowing for a much smoother urban cycling experience. Now, anyone can easily go up and down those pesky sidewalk curbs with no problem, and the days of popping a tire from hitting something a little too hard are all but over. The only real catch here is that the two half-wheel bicycle is more of just a personal prototype for the American engineer who constructed it, and probably won't see the light of day in a mass market, but one can certainly dream. Number 14. Pluma. Appropriately named for the Portuguese word for feather, the Pluma concept is the track bike to rule all track bikes. This incredibly lightweight body and futuristic shape are designed by Nuno Teixeira Industrial Design. It's made from a carbon sandwich foam frame that provides the most efficient airflow around the body, and the carbon disc rear wheel minimizes drag. And because a bike like this is so lightweight, many of the parts that would normally be exposed are concealed to keep the rider as safe as possible in the event of a crash at ludicrously high speeds. And while the Pluma certainly has a curvy look to it, it doesn't carry any unnecessary weight, making it a cutting-edge yet bare-bones addition to the world of track racing. Number 13. Specialized FUCI. The Union Cycliste Internationale, or UCI, puts some serious rules on restrictions on the big bike manufacturers to help keep both cyclists and pedestrians safe, whether it's out on the street or racing around the track. But some people feel that those rules are a little too restrictive, and so they threw them out the window to build the specialized FUCI, and the F in the name doesn't stand for forget. The idea behind this futuristic bike is that the UCI's racing rules don't apply to most riders, so why not give them something a bit more out of the box? For starters, the specialized FUCI is an e-bike, which has been catching on like wildfire around the world, and so this bike keeps a concealed motor in the bottom bracket. And it's going to need that motor because the rear wheel is a big one. It's over 33 inches. It's bigger than the front, which lets it act as a flywheel. You really have to throw everything you know about conventional bikes out the window with this thing. But the FUCI bike implements smartphone integration to help keep riders on track and on the grid as the air flows through their hair. And the front end is designed as a docking station for your phone and will give you a full readout of the bike's tire pressure, warn you about cars that are getting a little too close for comfort, and turn the lights on or off automatically. It's a great bike that's faster and smarter than the person in the saddle. Number 12. Canyon Ecospeed. Bikes are getting sleeker and thinner as the hands of time move forward, and the Canyon Ecospeed may be the sleekest yet. As the world calls for more and more electric vehicles on the road, bicycle manufacturers are heeding the call, as it's cheaper and more feasible to get everyone on an electric bike. So, the Canyon Ecospeed is able to conceal its fully integrated electric motor powered by a hydrogen fuel cell to let riders zip down the streets without leaving behind a carbon footprint. When you're going at that speed, it's important to have some good brakes, and the Canyon Ecospeed definitely delivers with its quality disc brakes and front and rear end suspension. So if you're living in a place like New York City, you can hit those unpaved roads like it's nothing. But what really gets the mouths of bike enthusiasts everywhere really salivating is the overall look and design. That's because the Ecospeed looks like someone threw a jet fighter as hard as they could at a bicycle, and this is what they got. The designers want the bike to have an aerodynamic look with jet plane wings instead of handlebars, and while that may sound a little too wild, it's really not because those high-flying handlebars are fully functional and can be adjusted for both the rider's height and weight with integrated air cylinder. It's time to fly, I guess. Number 11. GT Milano. We're seeing more and more bikes these days taking on all sorts of utilities, and while the days of the single rider are still going strong, there are plenty of parents who want to bring the kids to school without giving up the parking spot, and folks who want to carry some cargo without breaking their back. So we're seeing lots of bigger bicycles that can accommodate those larger loads. It may look a little wacky, but this bike is super helpful and tactical and can easily change the face of the urban road bike as we know it. The frame itself, along with the rear wheel, takes notes from aerodynamic racing bikes and looks as aerodynamic as they feel when you're riding. But the two front wheels offer the thickness and control that you'll need for getting around the city and hitting all those potholes and patches of broken glass safely. Plus, those front wheels are powered, meaning the bike is still going to ride easily even when fully laden, so you don't have to have calves of steel to be able to ride this thing. The front cargo hold is perfect for groceries, beer, and maybe even some small friends. But the best part of the GT Milano is that the front cargo pod is fully detachable, so the bike can be ridden around the track as well. Number 10. The Intelligent Bike. This next entry on the list is certainly a strange one, but if it does manage to work out in the field, then it will prove to be an awesome one. Chris Boardman is a professional cyclist who took his vision of what the future of the sport would be and ran with it, or rather rode with it. So Boardman created the Intelligent Bike concept. Now this concept is fully electric and features a solar-powered backup motor. So long as you're going for those beautiful afternoon rides, you'll always have some extra power to spare. It also comes with an onboard computer and a fingerprint scanner, meaning that the owner is the only person who can ride this piece of futuristic equipment. And who knows, if this personalized feature manages to catch on, it could mean that the days of fumbling around with those clunky and heavy bike locks become a thing of the past. But the icing on the cake of this wild design is the spoke-free wheels. The wheels on the Intelligent Bike concept go round and round and are attached to the frame itself instead of being an independent component. And while this bicycle concept looks pretty cool, no one, not even Mr. Boardman, can say for sure when we'll start seeing them out on the street. But be sure, once it does, it will be the talk of the cycling community. Number 9. Specialized Swork Shiv Aero Tandem. Tandem bikes are pretty cheesy, but maybe you wouldn't feel that way if you and some buds were riding along on this one. The Specialized Swork Shiv Aero Tandem takes a cutesy idea and gives it a modern and sleek spin that's sure to not just turn heads, but wallets too. This crazy two-seater made its first appearance at the 2010 Euro Bike Show and showed off its shaft drive that connects the two cranksets and all-in-one seat post, and rear handlebar units, all of which can be removed if you're all alone and customized for each individual rider. But if this bike seems a little too good to be true, think again, because the Aero Tandem has been battle-tested by Fabian Cancellara and Robert Egger, two pro riders and designers, and they really pushed this tandem to the limit, and probably even beyond that a little bit. The research and development teams took this Aero Tandem pretty seriously, and so it's a lot more than just two speedsters slapped together, and it truly is a one-of-a-kind and expensive tandem bike. Number 8. Cannondale Inline Skate Bike. You can't have a list of cool bikes without getting a little crazy. The Cannondale Inline Skate Bike takes the best of both worlds by combining inline skates with a racing bike. And as insane as this bike looks, because it's built by Cannondale, one of the best bike manufacturers, you just might be able to trust it. In a wild turn of events, the team at Cannondale decide to wed an unlikely pair, the bicycle and the inline skate. It is a wild idea that may not be ready to take over the bike lanes just yet, but the manufacturer can certainly dream. And while the inline skate bike's frame may certainly look like it came from the future with its ergonomic design, it doesn't really seem to be the best or safest fit for cyclists, especially because that front inline skate doesn't make for the best option when it comes to making any sort of turn. The funky Cannondale model is definitely rideable, but it would be in your best interest to go amazingly slow and to wear a helmet. In fact, the only person to ever ride the Cannondale inline skate bike successfully is Lieber Karas, a champion cyclist who's been not only known for his speed on the trial tracks, but his cycling stunts as well. Number 7. Articar. Despite the name, the Articar is still a bicycle. And while recumbent bikes may not be the chicest form of transportation, designer Ben Wilson is trying to change that with his interesting yet awesome bicycle concept. It's a four-wheeled recumbent bike enclosed with a bright fluorescent light halo. And while this well-lit halo doesn't provide anything other than a bright light, it does make the bike look like a mobile art project as it roars down the street. And it gives the rider a great workout too. It is a pretty bold design, sure, but it also provides a great amount of safety. Not only are people going to see you coming from a mile away when you're riding it at night, but the four wheels adds a level of stability that your typical bike isn't going to give you. And believe it or not, recumbent bikes can reach pretty high speeds, so the Articar is a great option for both people who just want to cruise and even the speed freaks. And oh yeah, it is available for purchase. Number 6. The Forkless Cruiser. Cruiser bikes, they offer seriously easy riding and a little bit more style than your average road bike or mountain bike. They may not get you there as fast as some other models, but then again, that's the whole point of cruising. And there's one cruiser concept that is definitely going to turn heads when you take it down the boardwalk. And if the name of this concept isn't enough of a hint, the Forkless Cruiser bike completely forgoes the bike's front fork, giving the long curved handlebars a floating appearance. So then that begs the question of just how does the rider control the bike? If you take a closer look, the handlebars are actually attached to a long curved tube that will move the front wheel from side to side, letting the rider make all of the fancy maneuvers a cyclist would need to. But to the untrained eye, it'll look like one giant two-wheeled magic trick. The Forkless Cruiser bike may not totally represent the future of cycling, but it certainly does show off human creativity, and this is the first bike concept of its kind, and it actually works. Number 5. Dicycle. When it comes to cycling, Amsterdam has got it down. The country is probably the most bike-friendly place on Earth, and its bike culture totally eclipses places like New York and San Francisco. So it should make perfect sense that the Amsterdam-based firm GBO has cooked up one of the coolest, if not kookiest, bicycle concepts out in the world today, the Dicycle. This interesting bike is still in the conceptual phase, but if and when it does get out on the markets, riders are going to be sitting between two giant wheels that will take you not just on trips across the land, but water too. It's really more of a boat-bike hybrid, but it could easily be the perfect method of transportation in the Netherlands, taking people from the streets into the canals and back out to the block again. So whether or not this amphibious bicycle actually works is still anybody's guess, but let's hope that the great minds behind this concept make it a reality fast. Number 4. Cube's Collapsible Carbon Cycle. Okay, the next bicycle concept on this list is a pretty cool one. The Cube Urban Street Bike takes the ultra-cool concept of the fixed gear bike and kicks things up a notch. This high-concept design takes the seat tube of your traditional bike and throws it out the window, getting rid of that component completely. Instead, the street bike uses a three-piece system that leaves the back wheel floating on its own. The reason behind this is to get rid of a lot of the bike's weight, giving you a faster and more agile ride as you cut through the street traffic and leave behind more heavy-duty bikes in your wake. This Cure Urban Street Bike may look like your parents' home stationary bicycle, but the idea works, and it looks much better too. This bike concept may still need a few more kinks worked out of it, but it's fair to say that the team behind this one is definitely on the right track. Number 3. Trek FE26. Since the 1970s, Trek has been one of the most reliable and well-known names in the cycling world, and they have yet to show any signs of slowing down. In fact, they're only getting faster, and their Trek FE26 bike concept is the perfect example. This road bike that looks more like a rocket ship has been designed to be ultra aerodynamic and eliminate any unnecessary drag, meaning you'll be able to cut through the air like a hot knife through butter. And if you're looking at this concept and asking yourself, where the handlebars are, don't worry, because the handlebar extensions swing out to become the bike's base bar when you need that extra stability. So how exactly does this bike get rid of all that drag and resistance? Well, they've taken the concept behind the F1 race cars, so the Trek FE26 front fork and head tube are angled especially to deflect the air around the rider, just like the wing of a race car. But despite the futuristic look and feel of this concept, it's still been designed with practicality in mind. The Trek FE26 has integrated lights, so you won't have to worry about your light attachments ever getting stolen in the big city, and there's even storage within the frame for a multi-tool, CO2 cartridges, and more, so you can leave your heavy tool-filled backpack at home. There's even an integrated heart monitor in the arm pads and a digital display on the stem. Make sure you get ready for this one. Number 2. Peugeot B1K. If you know anything about bicycles, then you should know all about Peugeot. They make some of the most solid and reliable bikes, and are still some of the most common road bikes out on the streets today. So it's no surprise that they were able to create an amazing concept bike, the Peugeot B1K. The more minute details of this concept have been kept hush-hush, but we do know that the Peugeot B1K was created as a racing bike and features a chainless drivetrain and carbon fiber construction. There also doesn't seem to be any calipers or disc brakes, and tubulars and clinchers are missing as well. But the frame is made from carbon and built so the rider's torso is angled down towards the pavement, which greatly reduces drag and creates a better weight balance and power transfer on the track. No one knows for sure how much the bicycle will weigh, but judging from the concept, it should be as light as a feather. Chances are most of us won't ever get the opportunity to ride in an ultra-fast race car down a 2-lane blacktop, but if you can get your hands on the Peugeot B1K, it may just be the next best thing. It doesn't seem like the kind of bike that you ride on, it seems like the kind of bike that you fly on. Number 1. Ebike. If you've ever wanted a bicycle that gave you the same exhilarating feel as being on a motorcycle, then look no further than the Ebike. The Ebike concept bicycle may look like a giant white monolith, but it easily has the potential to become the next big thing in the world of not just cycling, but commuting as a whole. The unusual design was cooked up by an inventor and cycling enthusiast, Yuji Fujimura, to get people to and from work fast and in style. Other than the design, the e-bike's claim to fame is that it runs on a lithium battery and has a built-in charge port for your laptop so you can power up your device on the go. But then there's also the built-in screen located at the handlebars that riders can connect their laptop to, giving them access to all of their information at any given moment. Just make sure not to watch your favorite movie while you're riding this thing, because it can go pretty fast. And while there is the lithium battery installed into the e-bike, it's still running on good old-fashioned pedal power, as any of your gadgets that may be plugged into it charge as you ride. So the more and faster you pedal, the faster you charge. It's pretty cool. And all around, great incentive to get out there and start moving.
Watch our Vehicles playlist for more top 15 videos about amazing vehicles. Sit back, relax, and binge watch all of our best vehicle videos.